Call the meeting to order. Welcome to September the 19th, 2022 meeting of Gaston County Board of Education. I'm Jeff Ramsey, a member at large and the chairman of the board. To my left is Dot Cherry. She's the vice chair of the board. At this time, I would like the other members to introduce themselves. Mr. Dedman.
Lee Dedman, Gastonia Township.
Justin Davis, South Point Township.
Steve Hall, Dallas Township.
Robbie Lovelace, Cherryville Township.
Dot Guthrie, Gastonia Township.
Kevin Collier, Riverbend Township.
Brent Moore, Crowders Mountain Township.
Thank you. On behalf of the board, we'd like to welcome everyone to this beautiful fall day this afternoon. Our first order of business is to have our prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to ask Dr. Booker to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Thank you. Let us pray. Blessed are you, Lord our God, creator of all that exists, source of life and growth, of peace and joy. We humbly ask for your forgiveness for our sins. Have mercy on us, Lord, as we gather here for our meeting. Let us express our gratitude for the opportunity to serve Gaston County Schools and its mission, for the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of our students. God, help us to embrace the challenge and responsibility we have as leaders. Guide us to lead with integrity. I pray that you will give every leader strength so that they do not grow tired in serving. Father God, things may seem overwhelming and exhausting, but I pray that every leader will recognize that they are working in your will and in your guidance, and that you are the ultimate source of strength. Please guide and give us the wisdom to understand the topics we discuss, the courage to make decisions, and the character to make the right decisions. Enlighten our minds and grow us in knowledge. Bless us always with your presence, your insight, your compassion. May we recognize you anew and praise you as you really are, the master of all. We love you, Lord. Amen. Amen. Please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next order of business is adopt the agenda. Have you had time to look over the agenda? I need a motion on the floor. Mr. Moore, motion, second by Ms. Cherry. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. The agenda is adopted. Our next order of business is to hear good news happening in our school system. Dr. Booker.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, we have several items of good news. I want to begin with great news for W.A. Best Elementary School. This past Friday, the United States Department of Education announced that W.A. Best was once again a National Blue Ribbon School. At this time, I would invite Laura Clark, Charlotte Friday, Nikki Simmons, Kirsten Jacola, and Janet Smith and Michelle Cornell to come forward, please. This is the principal, assistant principal, and a number of teachers, and they're here representing all of the students, teachers, staff, and parents, and all those who are associated with W.A. Best Elementary, because it is an honor for the entire community. A National Blue Ribbon is an accomplishment, and only 297 schools were recognized this year as National Blue Ribbon schools, and only 5 in North Carolina. This recognizes the long-standing commitment to excellence and high academic achievement at W.A. Best, because you may recall in 2006, a group was here recognizing W.A. Best for winning the National Blue Ribbon. It was fun to be there Friday as at an impromptu pep rally supported by Forest View High School pep band and drum band, and as well as cheerleaders and some of the football players. It was nice to see the community out and supporting, and we'll look forward to early November when they're recognized in Washington, D.C. at the National Blue Ribbon School Ceremony. Vice Chair and Chair.
Well, I don't know if y'all heard, he said 297.
Yes, ma'am.
That's in the whole country, and then 5 in the whole state of North Carolina. that's more than impressive. So I think they need enough. That is the cherry on the ice cream on the sundae for Gaston County. And that just goes to show how great Gaston County schools are. We couldn't be more proud of y'all. We are going to be even more proud when y'all represent our whole system in Washington. So congratulations, Bess. It's a wonderful, wonderful.
Slide down just a little, please.
Who else is here? Is there anybody else from Bass that's here?
Or can you switch with Charlotte?
Any teachers?
Yeah, okay. Oh, she's got the plaque. There we go.
You want it in the back?
Take your name tags off. There we go.
I know.
Yeah. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
And one more. Thank you.
Very exciting.
Last week, schools across the country celebrated National Arts and Education Week. In Gaston County, we believe that the arts are an integral part of a well-rounded education, and we would like to celebrate the arts each and every week. Tonight, we have with us a number of teachers representing the various disciplines. Art teacher, Michelle Kernow. Can you go on back, Michelle? Band teacher Cindy Owens from W.C. Friday Middle School and Cameron Radford from Stuart W. Kramer High School. Chorus teacher Bethany Jennings from Stuart W. Kramer High School. Dance teacher Stephanie Bowman from East Gaston High School. And theater teachers Chuck Stowe from Stuart W. Kramer and Shannon Four from North Gaston. The arts allow students to express their individual creativity, and through the arts, students learn many life skills, but also use their subject areas such as science, math, language arts, history, and ways as they produce, perform, and create their art. We're proud that we offered many different courses for our students to explore the arts, and a great supporter of the arts in his 20-plus years on the board has always been Mr. Collier, and he's here to recognize tonight. Mr. Collier?
We are blessed with some talent in Gaston County with our children. I mean, it is just incredible. If the board get out and see any of these opportunities, these plays, bands, and performing arts in our county is just incredible. But they can't do it without your guidance and leadership. And it's just a phenomenal statement for what you guys are doing with our children. Thank you. And on behalf of the board, we have a certificate in appreciation of the fine arts in Gaston County. Thank you for encouraging our students to learn about and develop and love the fine arts. Signed by our superintendent, Dr. Jeffrey Booker, and our board chairman, Mr. Ramsey. Okay.
And you all know we have a lot more arts teachers than this. This is a representative group of our fine arts.
Slide down just a little bit. All right. All right, thank you.
Y'all shake the boards.
Congratulations for all you do. Thanks for all you do. Yeah. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all that
Thank you for your support.
At this time, I would like to ask 4 of our students who are members of the Health Science Academy at East Gaston to come forward, please. Emily Sorelli, Grace Gaddy, Ashlyn Lewis, and Taylor Wright. You all... These 4 students completed the Nurse Aid 1 class last spring and recently found out that they can now call themselves licensed CNAs after passing the state exam. And as many of you know, Caramont is the sponsor of our Health Science Academy, and I am sure that Mr. Peak is excited to know he has more qualified folks coming towards him. And we believe that there are 3 other individuals who are taking the test to give us a total of 7. This means that as CNAs, the students are prepared to work with patients directly and to assist nurses with many tasks, and it's the first step in a promising career in healthcare. This pathway has a guaranteed admission into the college nursing program at Gaston College, and they also have an opportunity with Caramont Health as they work completing their 2-year degree to go on to Belmont Abbey and earn a 4-year degree. This is one of 21 of our choice programs, but it is exciting to see the growth in the Health Science Academy. Thank you all for being with us. Mr. Collier?
Y'all are ready to go to work. I like it. Congratulations. And I'd be remiss if I didn't go ahead and repeat about Mr. Peak and Caramont Hospital about what they've done at East Gaston to support this program. It's just another fine example of where business and opportunity has helped our school system. So thank you. And congratulations to each of you folks. You have a certificate for outstanding achievement for your CNA 1 certification. And it's signed by our superintendent, Dr. Booker, and our board chairman, Mr. Ramsey. This is Graceland. Emily. Ashley. And Taylor. I'm probably going to want you to hold this open for a camera.
Thank you.
Okay. Principals and parents from East Gaston? Any parents? 10 teachers?
Yeah. Nurse Boyd is their
Yes.
teacher, and she's going to do it as well. She is. Yeah. Nurse Boyd did it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Bill, mention the most important part.
Oh,
Do you mind taking your badge off, please?
Okay.
Can we put you here with Mr. Collier? Thank you. Can I get this picture first and the parents? Yeah, perfect, sorry.
Now we're coming.
Okay.
Oh,
Next picture.
Next one, okay.
We're all proud. Sit down there.
Yes.
yes.
All right.
You should be.
All right, and the parents?
Teacher stay?
Teacher stay.
This is all family.
I can see your face, we're good, so there we go, perfect. One more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, we're proud of y'all. Really.
Got a bunch more. We have another East Gaston High School student with us this evening. I would like to ask Zoe Gambino to come forward at this time. And as you can see, Zoe is the current Miss Mount Holly's Outstanding Teen, and she represented Mount Holly this summer at the Miss North Carolina Outstanding Team competition, which was held in High Point. This was an incredible opportunity for Zoe to represent her family, her school, and the community in front of a statewide audience. Zoe is involved in a number of activities, including the band, where she plays the clarinet. She'll pass on her title in November, but we wanted to take this opportunity to recognize her and congratulate her on her many achievements, both at school and in the community. Zoe, thank you for being here.
Performing arts, community service, that's what else?
One number of other things.
Great, great. Well, I'm from Mount Holly, just so you know.
Well, that's good to
And
know.
so I'm very proud of you, but more so the Board of Education in Gaston County Schools is very proud of you and everything you've done. And we have a certificate of your outstanding recognition signed by our superintendent, Dr. Booker, and our board chairman, Mr. Ramsey. Congratulations.
There we go.
You're used to that.
It's fine. There we go. And one more. Thank you.
Teachers, parents, they're here. Principals? Yes.
And last one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the board, audience, to conclude our good news, I want to put some slides up to bring attention to 4 students from the class of 2022 that graduated from Forest View High School. William Barnes, Susan Christie, Margaret Liu, and Jessica Normal received the Advanced Placement Capstone Diploma. To earn the Capstone Diploma, students must have a score of 3 or higher on the AP Seminar and AP Research exams, as well as 4 additional AP exams. So if you've been doing the math, that means 6 AP exams with a 3 or higher score. It's a significant accomplishment, and we were excited when we received notice from the school boards that they wanted to recognize these 4 outstanding students in our Collegiate Prep Academy at Forest View. All of these students are now in college, furthering their academic career, but we wanted to take a moment and just recognize that and the work that's going on at that school. So, Mr. Chair, that completes the good news for this evening.
Ms. Guthrie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that a couple of weeks ago, we had Mr. Hamilton from South Point High School, as well as the principal and parent involvement, Mr. Ricky Collins, and a young man that actually graduated from South Point High School to return to South Point with A&T's amazing band. And that was Mr. Garvin Collins, and I think we owe him a very special. He has a very proud grandmother sitting out there, and an auntie and an uncle. But more importantly, this is community involvement. This is what we need from our district or in our district in order to enhance a greater opportunity to connect the school with the community. This young man came back and he performed there with his colleagues, and I was very proud to know that not only did he do the performance there, but they performed in Charlotte at one of the games, North Carolina Central University, and went on to perform at a professional football game. So community involvement and awareness of what our young people are doing in the community is very important as well. So I wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie, for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Booker, all the good news. We do have other matters to discuss. As you can see on our agenda, that the board stands ready to approve a COVID retention bonus like we did last year. We will also discuss the issues with the payroll and steps we are taking to see them improve. But first, on behalf of the board, I would like to talk about what our employees do every day. How you show up to work every day for the children of Gaston County Schools. You see that they are fed, they're taught, they're cared for, and especially they're loved by our teachers every day. We have many reasons to celebrate every day. We would especially like to thank everyone for a great beginning of our school year. I feel like we're back to normal over COVID, and especially when you go out to a Friday night football game, you can see the excitement of all the students, the bands, the cheerleaders, the dance teams, and especially the sports, the competition there. Also, like Ms. Guthrie just said, giving back to their community is what we instill our children to do in Gaston County Schools. And of course, tonight we recognize a national award. All this because of what you do every day, and we are grateful for all the good news you give us. Thank you. The next item on our agenda allows the opportunity for public expression. This is time when the board will hear comments from citizens about the matter of public concerns related to the school system. Our board policy sets aside the first 30 minutes of our regular monthly meeting for citizens to address the board. Before we hear from the public, let me outline the rules of procedures. Citizens wishing to make a comment and who have completed a request to speak form prior to the beginning of the meeting will be recognized by the chair and then requested to step to the microphone to make their comments. Citizens will state their name and address for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Members of the board do not respond to public expressions during the public comment period. Public expressions does not allow for comments on confidential personnel matters. Speakers who wish to give materials to the board will hand them to our board clerk. The chair shall rule at all points of the order during the public expressions. And our first speaker will be Lauren Frady. Is Miss Frady here tonight? Okay. Jasmine Clarkson. Okay. Lori Peabody. Hey.
I live in Belmont, and I am here tonight in hopes to be a voice to the employees of Gaston County Schools in regard to the payroll issues that are going on in the county right now. I have many friends, and I have several family members that do work for Gaston County Schools. I have talked to a lot of people about this, and from what I understand, the problems are persistent and pervasive. I have heard zero pay, net pay of $250, retirement accounts not being funded, and one employee who had premiums withheld for a policy with Colonial that were not remitted for over 90 days. She lost her policy, it was canceled, and Colonial refuses to reinstate it. I do not know how anybody is going to make it right with this employee, but I will continue. I am a CPA licensed in the state of North Carolina. I have over 30 years of experience. A lot of it's not in payroll, but I do have a lot of business experience. I am formally requesting that funds be set aside to hire a team of dedicated payroll experts to fix this problem. I don't know who can set aside the funds. I don't know if it has to come from the county commissioners or the school board, but right now, the current solution that I'm hearing and reading about is to have the current payroll employees work on the problems between payroll runs. That is not sufficient. These problems have got to be addressed. It is mid-September. These employees you are risking giving them incorrect W-2 forms at the beginning of 2023. This is going to be a bigger problem than anybody is even thinking about. I personally am wondering if the payroll tax filings are accurate or not, based on pre-tax withholdings and after-tax withholdings. I would like to know that, and I think that a special team could come and do this. Once corrections are made, I am requesting full transparency and disclosure about how and who made the decisions to proceed against DPI recommendations to not move forward with this system at the current time. I would like transparency around that. I would also like transparency about the type of problems, the number of problems, and how long it took to get them corrected. I think that we owe the educators and the Gaston County school employees and taxpayers of this county at least that much. And I just want to say that I feel like that this has the potential to be failure on the part of leadership on many different levels of leadership. And I would just really ask on behalf of the people that work for Gaston County Schools that quick and serious actions be taken to correct the problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Peabody. Pam Miller.
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Dr. Booker, and board members. My name is Pam Miller. I live in Cramerton. I am a proud first grade teacher at Page Primary, and I'm also the proud president of Gaston NCAE. People have heard a lot from me lately about payroll and the problems that we're having. I will not belabor all the ways teachers and staff have been affected by this. I will, however, tell you what your employees require of you. Give a clear timeline of when these outstanding payroll issues will be resolved. Guarantee us that these issues will not continue so that we can focus on the job of educating our students. Ensure that all retirement account payments will be made on time. And finally, use some of that unspent $80 million of ESSER funds to give your employees a significant retention and hardship bonus. $5,000 per employee would cost you about $25 million. So there would be lots of that $80 million left over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Whether we have had issues with our pay or not, everyone's been impacted by this. We need to talk about how we work to get through this together so we can get our focus back to celebrating what you do best is teach our kids well. And thank you for your comments. The next item on the agenda is approval and correction of minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes from last August 15th. Second by Mr. Davis. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. The next item on the agenda is report from the Operation Committee. The Operation Committee's chairman is Lee Dedman. The other members are Dot Cherry, Kevin Collier, and Brent Moore. Mr. Dedman. All right, thank you.
The Operations Committee met on Monday, September 12th at 4 o'clock here in the boardroom. Our committee consists of, as Mr. Ramsey mentioned, Chairman Lee Dedman, Kevin Collier, myself, and Brent Moore. Executive Director from Academic Services presented the 22-23 support plan for elementary, middle, and high schools. Academic curricular facilitators will help each school with pre- and post-assessments to help track students' growth. Data centers will be used to help with progress monitoring. Accountability guides will be provided for administrators to ensure the plan is working effectively. Our Director of Safety and Security, Michael Nance, informed us that the school resource officers, or SROs, hourly rate of pay will be increased by $5. Currently, they are paid $30 per hour for during the school day and $35 for extracurricular activities. They will now be paid $35 per hour during the school day and $40 per extracurricular activities. Keisha Cohn, our HR director, shared with us that the HR department is diligently working on calculating and entering the salary increases for our classified employees. This was a payroll function, but with Oracle, it is now an HR task. Vacancies are slowly decreasing, and there are approximately 59 teacher vacancies, 23 bus driver vacancies, 49 school nutrition vacancies, 2 HR resource vacancies, and 4 finance vacancies. Our Chief Technology Officer, Aaron Slutsky, gave a technology update. The engineers continue to update wiring for the stadiums and gymnasiums so that events and sports are able to be streamed. Technicians moved, prepped, and distributed Chromebooks throughout all of our schools. Mr. Hoskins also recommended that the board approve a COVID retention bonus to qualified employees. This item is on the board agenda tonight for discussion and approval. The governor signed Senate Bill 501, which provided supplement funding for certain employees, including teachers and certified instructional support personnel. This item is also on the board agenda for discussion and approval tonight. A change order was submitted for the Media Center at Belmont Middle, and there was a change in the scope for abatement for $500. The committee reviewed and is recommending approval on the consent agenda for the following contracts. LED lighting at Cherryville High School. Let me flip my page. Roof replacement at Kaiser Elementary. Roof replacement at Pinewood Elementary. Paving at New Hope Elementary. Cisco Smart Net renewal. The Reserves Network. And True Ingenuity Consulting. Our next meeting will be Monday, October 3rd at 4 o'clock here in the boardroom.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry.
And that's our report, unless Mr. Collier says I missed something, so hold on.
Yeah, the abatement was not Belmont Middle School, that was
It's
Mount
Mount
Holly.
Holly.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
apologize, Mount Holly Middle, sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry. Next item on the agenda is a report from our Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Ms. Dot Guthrie is our chair of that committee. The other members are Justin Davis, Steve Hall, and Robbie Lovelace. Ms. Guthrie.
Mr. Chair, Mrs. Lovelace will present our report.
All right, thank you.
The Curriculum and Instruction Committee met on September 12th, 2022. Members present were Dot Guthrie, Steve Hall, Justin Davis, Robbie Lovelace, Jeff Ramsey, and Dot Cherry. The meeting was called to order at 12:04 p.m. Gary Hoskins, Chief Financial Officer, provided information about a COVID retention bonus and state supplement for eligible employees during the 2022-23 school year. Both items will be included on the Board of Education agenda. Mr. Hoskins added an update on school modernization. Academic Services presented an instructional support plan for 2022-23. Coaching support and professional development on current resources will continue. Observations and reflection will support student and teacher growth. Expanded reach teachers will be utilized to support student achievement. Jill Payne provided an update on learner profiles for students in grades 5 through 12. Naviance, which integrates with PowerSchool, was the selected platform for creating learner profiles that support and promote engagement of the whole child. This will be an item on the consent agenda at the Board of Education meeting. The Department of Exceptional Children and Student Support Services presented an addendum to the Bright Star Care contract. The contract addendum will increase the allotment of EC teacher assistants and mental health clinicians. This will be an item on the consent agenda at the Board of Education meeting also. The next meeting will be on October 3rd, 2022 at noon. A motion was made and seconded to adjourn the meeting at 2:13 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lovelace, for that report. The next item on the agenda is the COVID retention bonus, and Gary Hoskins.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chair Cherry, members of the board, Superintendent Booker. Here to present a COVID retention bonus, which, as was noted in the two reports of the committees, Instruction Committee and Operations Committee, we have discussed already. Due to the additional responsibilities that our employees are asked to do as a result of COVID, the federal government does allow us to pay COVID retention bonuses. And in fact, many other school districts have done this in the past, including Gaston County Schools, which paid 2 retention bonuses last year. These retention bonuses will have to be included in our COVID budget, which has to be submitted to DPI, and then DPI will have to approve that budget. So what we are proposing is a $1,000 bonus for employees in the first semester, a $1,000 bonus for employees after the second semester, and then a $1,000 bonus to eligible employees after the school year. So a total of up to $3,000. So in order to be an eligible employee for the first semester, since it's a retention bonus, we're asking that the employees be employed here at Gaston County Schools on August 9th of this year and be continuously employed through the last day of school, which is December 22nd. Also, that they are permanent employees and that they work over 50% of the time here at Gaston County Schools. For the second semester bonus, a similar approach, they would need to be an employee here on the first day of school, January 5th of 2023, and be continuously employed through the last day of school, May 26, 2023, and also that they be a permanent employee and work over 50%. And for the entire school year, they would need to be employed as of August 9th, 2022, all the way through the end of the school year, May 26, 2023, and also be a permanent employee and work over 50% of the time. So the payment dates on these projected bonuses, the first semester bonus will be payable January of 2023. The second semester bonus and the entire school year bonus will be paid in June of 2023. These bonuses are not subject to state retirement, but are subject to income taxes. So the total projected impact of these bonuses, the first semester bonus would be $4.1 million. The second semester bonus is projected to be $4.1 million as well. And then about $3.8 million we estimate for the entire school bonus, which would be a total of $12 million. We would pay this from our ESSER funds. The first semester bonus would come from our ESSER 2 funds. Those expire in September 2023. And the second 2 bonuses, the second semester and the entire school year bonus, will be paid from our ESSER 3 funds, which expire September 2024. In addition, as a result of learning loss, the General Assembly has passed some legislation that expanded the need for training, especially our pre-K to kindergarten teachers and what they call letters training. This was passed back in April 2021. LETTERS stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And this is to help students who are struggling to read, struggling to learn, help our teachers with some training, and try to improve the literacy of those children. So the LETTERS training is quite intense. It is paid for by the state, but we do not receive any funding from the state to compensate any of our teachers that have to go through this training. There are 2 different volumes of training. Each volume has 4 different units, so that's a total of 8 units that they have to go through. And it is, like I said, it is quite an arduous process. So we estimate that we have about 773 employees that are going through this training. So we are recommending, and some other school districts have done this as well, and again, we're using our COVID funding for this, is to pay a $150 training and retention bonus per unit for 8 units. That would be a total of $1,200 to the employee. These would not be subject to retirement, but they would be subject to normal FICA and income tax withholdings. So that would cost our district about $1 million for that. So we got the $12 million, which we talked about in the committees, and then this is an extra $1 million. So we're asking for board approval of about $13 million for our COVID bonus, for our COVID funding. Of course, we have to submit this to DPI and have them approve this. With that, I'll open it up to questions.
Mr. Collier?
Mr. Hoskins, the letters, payment that we're going to play, that's going to come out of ESSER 1 funds?
That will come out of ESSER 3 funds.
ESSER 3?
Yes.
Okay. And those expire?
ESSER 1's already expired. ESSER 2 will be expiring next year, and then ESSER 4 the following year.
Glad I asked. All right. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hoskins, how long does it, does the application to DPI or the request to DPI usually take to get an answer back? And
Well, the first step is to get board approval, and then we will change our budget that we submitted already for approval. It could take a week or two. It depends on how quickly we can get it input into the DPI system, and they have one person that approves those budgets, and so it just depends on what their workload is. But certainly within a month, we should know something from DPI.
okay, thank you.
I have a question. With
ma'am.
the financial support that you're going to give for letters, would these checks be separate from the regular checks that teachers would get, because we don't want them
Yes, ma'am.
confused? We want them to,
Yes, ma'am.
to know what they're getting.
Mr.
Gaston, does this include for secretaries and our?
This is just, well, the COVID, the first semester, second semester, an entire year covers every single employee that is eligible, that meets those eligibility. Yes, sir. The letters is only those pre-K to 5 teachers that actually take that.
Hour minutes that covers every employee.
Any eligible employee that's permanent, works over 50%, and is during the span of time that we just mentioned. Yes.
Any other This is an action item.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the COVID bonus and the letters bonus.
Mr. Devon beat you. So Mr. Devon made the motion, you're
Oh,
second.
okay.
I was watching him. That's right.
And I
Ms.
want to
Catherine?
say that just this morning, I was reading an article, Education Digest, related to letters and the support that teachers need for that program, because it's time-consuming. So I am happy to hear that an acknowledgement is made and that they're going to be compensated for that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. On the floor, Mr. Devon made a motion, second, Ms. Cherry. All in favor?
Yeah.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Gary, you're up again. The next on the agenda is state salary supplement. This
Thank you.
is action item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When the General Assembly passed the biennial budget back in 2021, they included, for the first time ever, I believe, a state supplement for our teachers, and this was a 2-year supplement. Last year, we paid the supplement, and they did not give us the amount for the upcoming year until just a few weeks ago. So back on August 26th, we received $2.9 million from DPI that will be used for these funds. They can only they cannot supplant our local supplement that we already pay. It's an add-on, and it's just for this 1 year. These are recurring funding from DPI or from the General Assembly, but we don't know what the amount's going to be, until they tell us. So These are subject to retirement, so, you get the 6% taken out of there, and they're treated as salary, not a bonus or stipend. It's very similar, not exactly the same as what it was last year. This will be paid on a monthly basis. It's back effective dated to August 2022. We're going to process this as quickly as we can. It'll probably be done in October. So if in October, they'll get the August, September, October months at one time, and then after that, it'll be 1 month for the following month. So we've got about 2,338 eligible participants. These are teachers and certified school staff. And when you look at the 2,338 employees and the $2.9 million, after you take out the retirement, it's about $843 for the 10 months or $84 a month. So the board will have to approve this. DPI does appropriate the money, but they do require that boards actually approve this payment. So we're asking for this approval.
Okay, Mr. Collier?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the state salary supplement.
All right. Second by Ms. Lovelace. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next on the agenda is our school business system modernization update. Mr. Hoskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief background on SBSM, which is School Business Systems Modernization. That's the acronym. The initiative started back in 2016 when the General Assembly, put this in motion. It was to modernize finance, payroll, and HR systems. 2017, they finally got around to funding this program with non-recurring appropriations. So they have to reappropriate this year after year. This is the specific goals of the initiative, but number 3 is what really hits us, and that's to replace discontinued and obsolete systems. Also increase, eliminate duplication, et cetera. But number 3 is what really affected us. Once this initiative got started, DPI created a new division or new department called the School Business Systems Modernization Department. They have a division head or department head. Once this got started, they started the procurement process and they went out and looked at different vendors. They had them present, to DPI which ones that they thought would be modern systems, and they selected 2 vendors. And those vendors were Tyler Technologies for Munis and Cherry Road Technologies for Oracle Cloud. They signed up some pilots, and we ended up signing up in December 2019. So as I mentioned, one of the reasons that it was, sort of attractive to us is replacing old systems. We've been on SunPac since 1989, and we've been on HRMS, which is our HR system, since 1992. So after we signed up our target date to go live, there were two functions. One was finance and the other is HR payroll. The date for both to go live was July 1st, 2021. So as we approached that date, we had a team. This was all done remotely. As you know, we're in COVID, so everything was remote. So there was a team of Gaston County Schools representatives, which I was a part of. There was a team from DPI, from their SBSM division. There are 2 project managers that were with us the whole way. Then we had our team from Cherry Road. So as we approached July 1st, 2021, we all agreed that this needed to be delayed. So we delayed it until October 1st, 2021. And then as October 1st got a little bit closer, we all agreed to delay one more time to January 1st, 2022. So during December of 2021, we had 4 weekly checkpoints with the group that I just told you about. Cherry Road, the DPI representatives, and Gaston County Schools. And so in each of those 4 checkpoints, everybody voted to go ahead. So Those are the facts. So obviously, we have issues that we're continuing to work through. I want to go through some of the global issues that we're talking about and acknowledge that other individuals have issues that may not be mentioned on here that we're working through. So one of the issues that affects every employee, including myself and everybody here, is Orbit. And so Orbit is the North Carolina state retirement. And every month, we withhold 6% of an employee's check. We put in, as Gaston County Schools, right now it's 24.5% of that employee's check, and we send those funds to Orbit, which is the retirement system. Well, that process has been much slower than it should have been, or than it should have been. So right now, we have submitted files through June. We're currently working on the June file. It rejected, I think, Friday. We're working through those errors, but employee files are posted through May. If you log in and look at Orbit, you'll see your funding through May. We also talked with, the retirement system and actually the North Carolina treasurer. There were questions about accrued interest and employees losing money, and obviously that's a concern. And they informed us that interest is only accrued on December 31st at the end of the year. So, right now that is not the case, but we've got to get this fixed, and we need to get it fixed quickly. Also, the other retirement plans, Empower, which used to be Prudential, is posted through June. We've got the July file ready, but that still keeps us, we're still about 2 months behind on those files. Multiple deductions. This is something that hit us January, February, to a lesser extent March, and really popped up again last month for some employees in Colonial. These are when we took out double deductions or sometimes even triple deductions on an employee pay. The hard part about this is it has to be done on an individual basis. The Orbit file is done globally for all individuals. We have to go through and look at each of these people that are affected, one by one, which, we continue to try to work on, but certainly not as fast as we should be or could be. Longevity was working fine with the new system. Sometimes the system's not stable. Things work for a few months, and then something happens, and then they quit working. That's what happened with longevity. Longevity was working fine until July, and no one got longevity in July or August. We've been working with Cherry Road to fix this. We believe that September's fixed. Then we're going to have to go back and fix, pay those people that were due longevity in July and August. EPI teachers. Those are teachers that we contract with. Usually they're hard to staff positions. They are a contract, as I mentioned, so they don't have retirement or FICA deductions. However, the system took those out of their checks. So we realize that. We're trying to get that stopped and get that reimbursed to them as quickly as possible, because that's a lot of money for these people, and we've got to get that resolved. That could be a global fix, unlike the double deductions, which has to be an individual analysis. And then I think Ms. Cherry mentioned about the classified raises. HR has been working on that. The General Assembly approved raises of 4%, of the greater of 4% or $15 an hour. HR worked on that last week. We uploaded the file, and of 2,100 or so employees, 268 kicked out, so we had to input those manually. We reran it again today, and there was another couple hundred that we still have to work on manually. They're working as hard in HR and payroll as they can to get that in the September 23rd check. But all increases will be retroactive back to July 1st. So some of the things that we're trying to work on to mitigate this. Number one, we had a full-time employee that helped with the conversion, and now we've got a full-time employee, Sean Markwith. He was an existing ITF with Gaston County Schools. He's worked in the private industry with some computer companies. He's headquartered over where HR and finance are, and so he works with us a lot. So he has been, for the last month or two, working with us, on a full-time basis to try to help coordinate information between us and either Cherry Road or Oracle and try to resolve existing issues and try to avoid future issues. Also, we engaged an additional consulting company called True Ingenuity. They had actually been working with CMS for a number of years, and then they were working with CMS through part of their Oracle issues. And so they are engaged with us, and they're on your consent agenda to help improve our workflow, to prepare needed reports, to avoid some issues that could be avoided if we had information in advance, and to escalate any security concerns. We also, just last week, in the early processes of creating an Oracle Customer Service Center. One of the things that people rightfully, say is that, they're not getting responses, regarding issues that they have, and they're absolutely right. We are used to providing good customer service, and that is not the case now. And we're just overwhelmed, and, that's not an excuse, but, we've created this customer service center to help streamline this process because we have so many different ways of people bringing issues to our attention, whether it's emailing us directly, calling, emailing the board, emailing the principal. There's just so many different avenues of how things are coming in. We'll try to streamline this and maybe make that process a little bit easier. We still only have, a staff of 4 people in payroll, but if they're not working on, trying to sort through all these emails and phone calls, that will help them get things done quicker. Then also Cherry Road, we've signed up with them to provide us payroll support. They are on the phone with Gina Waters and payroll every time that they're running a payroll and helping her through issues that would be worse than what they are now. Our month-end close and then employee onboarding process. We hired a lot of employees in the summer, and HR was overwhelmed, and so they helped with that process. And then finally, we continue to try to hire qualified personnel. I think Ms. Cherry mentioned we've got 4 vacancies in finance and 2 in HR. All the schools have vacancies. Vacancies are part of private industry as well. We're just working to try to get good qualified people in there so that we can address these issues quicker than we have been, because the current level is not where we want it to be or where we expect it to be. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Gary. I'm opening the floor. Does anybody want to have any comments or questions for Mr. Hoskins? Mr. Hall?
So I understand DPI never did tell us not to go live.
So there were 2 people from DPI that worked for the SBSM department that attended every meeting that they could, that we had, and they're 2 project managers, and they never voted. The last time when we decided to go live January, each of those 4 touch points, they voted yes. Now, did somebody, between July 1st and when we went live say no? Probably we said no. Did somebody say no after February, after they saw that things were not as good as what we thought? They possibly did. I don't know. I don't know all 3 of those people that were mentioned in that article. I only know one of them, and she's probably over the whole SBSM, so she's at a much higher level, but she was not in many of our meetings, if any.
Yeah, Mr. Dedman.
Mr. Hoskins, first of all, I'm so sorry for you and all the teachers. It's a real debacle thing. What are we doing to help? I've been teachers call me and I go, you're not gonna lose any money, we will write you a check and we'll do, what are we doing when that person gets a late penalty or they can't make a payment? What are we doing extra to help those people?
Yeah, anytime, everybody's different. $100 might not mean a lot to you, but it means a lot to somebody else. So, we try to use our judgment, as to, I really need to write this person a $100 check. But, there's not a hard and fast rule. We don't have a dollar amount out there. We've got much bigger problems than $100. We've got people with $1,000 that we're trying to, look at. Yes. Yes.
Yes, Ms. Guthrie.
First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing that information with us. But I want to also ask you, what happens if we have people who were not paid from the last school year? How are you handling that? And as far as customer service, I received several concerns where people will send emails and they are not answered. Remember, we talked about this last week. I think communication is so important.
Right.
And if we can just set aside the strategy, and I guess that would come within the customer service or the true ingenuity that you're going to actually ask us to vote on tonight. Will those educators be compensated from what they didn't get last year as well, if they show the documentation,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well as those that have not been told how long it will be before you think they'll be paid?
The answer to your first question, will they be paid if it was some money that they were missing in January, February, prior school year, prior fiscal year? Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Your second question about being responsive, the creation of this Oracle Customer Care Center is to try to address that, because it's difficult for us in payroll to be as responsive as we would like to be and still be working on. You saw the number of global issues that we have. It's pretty daunting for the staff that we have. But to be able to lean upon that customer care center, to be engaging with the employees and making sure that we fully understand their issues and communicate that to payroll, that will help take some time, give payroll a little bit of additional time, I think.
I think it's motivational as well as encouraging when the communication is there and, there's like a roadmap or whatever can be established. I thank you for what you said tonight. I just want, we're in a bind and we want to fix it.
Yes.
And when, we say to classroom teachers, we have high expectations for you this school year. Well, we want those high expectations to be practiced or implemented in the classroom. So the barriers are there, and if we can eradicate those, then we will achieve our goal and mission for the year.
Thank you, Ms. Guthrie. Ms. Lovelace.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hoskins, I do want to thank you for all your hard work, and Dr. Booker, and I am glad that Gaston County Schools is now going to be viewed as being proactive with this Oracle instead of reactive. And I thank you so much for putting these measures in place, especially with this customer service. We do appreciate that.
The hard work is with those working in payroll.
Exactly.
They are working past midnight, and we certainly appreciate the employees, their patience. I know it's running thin. I understand it's running thin, and it's difficult, more difficult for them, but, certainly I want to put all the hard work, with payroll and thank them.
Thank them for us, please.
I will.
Thank you, Ms. Lovelace. Mr. Dedman.
One final thing, Mr. Hoskins. I had a few people call me that they got paid way too much money. How are you retrieving the money that we've overpaid people?
Well, that August 26th payroll, we were improving, after March. we started seeing some improvements, and then August happened, and we took a big step backwards, and that's sort of what really threw us back. With the August payroll, you had some people that got a no pay, and those were the highest priority. And our goal was to get them paid either through ACH in their bank by the end of August or get a check by the end of August. Then you had a few employees or some employees that were short paid, and so we tried to do the same with them. The third group was, as you mentioned, some got double paid, and I won't get into the details of why that happened, but what we will have to do is contact those employees to let them know, so that we'll have that money, they'll have that money in the bank account, and we can, take that money back out. Or they can, we've got to get that on their W-2. And when I say on their W-2, I really mean off their W-2, because it's got to go through the system. Because if you're due $5,000 and I paid you $10,000, and you just wrote me a check for $5,000 because you were overpaid, Oracle's still going to see that you got $10,000, and when your W-2s come, you're going to get that $10,000. So we have to do that through Oracle so that we get that off the Oracle books and out of your W-2 earnings. That takes a little more.
In the long run, and budgeting ourselves, our school system.
Correct.
Mr. Moore?
Gary, I just want to say thank you to your team. You guys, I know I've talked to Dr. Booker numerous times, but I've talked to you. You guys are doing a great job trying to get us caught up. But could you explain the triple and double deductions, what's going on there?
So most of this was early in the process, early in the conversion, the January, February, some in March. What happened is primarily people, and not solely this reason, but primarily if someone had multiple positions, if you were a teacher and a sub, or let's say a tutor, or a teacher and a coach, or a teacher and a bus driver, then you got deducted for each of those positions. And so that's what we have to go back and look at. We ran a retro back in March, and that cleaned up some of it, but not all of it. So that's why we have to go back and look at, we got to look at your January pay. Was it fixed in February, or was it still the same problem? Or did we retro it back to you in February? So we got to look at every single pay slip for that employee back to that time when they got double or triple deducted. So that's why I was saying that takes a little more time than some of these other items, or more of a system-wide fix that we can do, like with the uploading the orbit files and things like that. We can fix the global issues, but that's the one that's the most challenging. Does that make sense? Sure.
Okay. Only question I have, can you kind of walk us through because there's rumors out there we're not paying teachers and all that. So run the August and how we pay before the end of August, everybody.
Well, August was sort of a perfect storm. The August paycheck, we typically pay monthly on the 27th. Well, that was a Saturday. So then we paid it on Friday. Well, we pay the biweeklies every other Friday, and so that Friday hit that same Friday. Then we had 2,000 10-month employees coming back in the month of August. And then we also had voluntary deductions. The new voluntary deductions file came in August. So we had all those things hitting at one time. And so, teachers are paid, a complete check or a full check in August, but they work 18 days or so. And so the system went, they also work in June, but they don't get paid in June. May is their last date of payment. So the way the system worked, it double paid them initially, and then we had to go back and try to fix that. Again, it was like at 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that it got fixed. So we ended up with, a number of people, 50, 60, I don't know, 70 no pays that we had to run, a couple off cycles. We had some short pays, and then we had not yet addressed the overpayments.
Ask one more.
Yes, Ms. Good.
Gary, what happens if a teacher did, I don't think all of them were rumors that teachers were not getting paid, But what happens if a teacher didn't get paid, and could you cut a check for that person if you heard that that person needed to be?
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get to.
Okay. Any employee, teacher, custodian, bus driver, superintendent, whatever, that comes to us and says, I did not get paid for this particular pay period, then that is a top priority. And then we will either run a off-cycle pay run, they'll get paid through their ACH in 3 days, or if it's an emergency situation, we can run a check through Oracle to get them paid.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Mr. Davis, excuse me.
You mentioned the retirement system and that there were some issues with the uploads and that we got through May. Is that correct?
May is posted to the employees' accounts, yes.
Okay.
We have submitted June, and again, it's difficult to explain, but we submitted June, I think, on Friday, Thursday or Friday. There were 2 errors. We fixed those errors. The problem is, once the system sees errors, it stops. So then we have to submit it again the next day, and then it runs again. And then it's got 300 errors on it right now. And so we just have to manually fix that. Those are system errors, and that system issue has been fixed, but it was fixed after that June file was run.
Okay. With regard to the Oracle Customer Service Center, that has been something that I've chatted about and been pushing for here because it's so important that we take care of our teachers and our staff, and that when there are software errors and payroll errors on the automatic side, that those errors get addressed. How is that going to be staffed to make sure that we've got the staffing necessary to make sure that they're getting the customer care and service that they deserve?
Well, we've been very fortunate in that Dr. Baltnight has helped out with some of her people. On Friday, we had a mass group in there, about 40 people that were documenting all of the tickets, I say tickets, all the handwritten items and emails that have come to payroll over the last several weeks. So they've documented all those people, sent emails to those people just to let them know that we've got them on our list. And then as we see how busy we are, we will adjust that. Obviously, we don't need 40 people, but probably 5 people or so that we will use. But we're very flexible because we're fortunate that Dr. Baltnight has volunteered some of her people. Obviously, they have their own jobs to do as well, but we'll just have to play that by ear. We expect that probably this payroll, there'll be a lot of questions with the biweekly because, hopefully all the raises are going through, but people will still have questions. Then when we get through the next monthly pay cycle, which we run that in 4 days, we'll probably have some questions there, but after that, hopefully we'll be able to taper off how many people are staffed there.
Okay. Any other questions before we move to the agenda? I just, on behalf of the board, we are committed to making this right. We apologize again for what's going on. But, as Gaston County School, we all work together as a family, and we'll make this work and get it completed. And thank you for your help, Gary.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our local assessment schedule. This is information hour. Ms. Powers.
Good evening, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chair Dot Cherry, members of the board, and Superintendent Booker. Tonight, I will be sharing with you the local assessment calendar and the 21-22 North Carolina Accountability Model preliminary results. The vast majority of testing that takes place in our district is required by the state, but there is a small amount of our testing that is administered as locally decided assessments. Each district is required to annually report to the State Board of Education on local assessments and the calendar for administering these assessments. This report must be submitted to the State Board of Education by October 1st. A summary of our local assessment calendar has been provided to you in your packets for your information. General Statute 115C-17412D requires each local Board of Education to notify the State Board of Education by October 1st each year of any local standardized testing to be administered to students by the local school administrative unit. Public school units meet this requirement through the completion and submission of the local testing report survey by October 1st. After our Academic Services Department confirms which local assessments will be administered, the Director of Testing completes the survey on behalf of our district. A few examples of our local assessments given within our district are the COGAT. This is a cognitive ability test that is given to our second grade students annually. Our iReady assessments, which are diagnostic and formative assessments in reading and math for grades kindergarten through 8. The pre-ACT 8-9 is for all of our students in the 8th grade. The district returned to this during the 21-22 school year. This assessment helps our students predict their score on the ACT after an additional year of learning. Students perform on the pre-ACT in grade 10, and their performance there will help them make a plan for reaching their goal ACT score. As a reminder, both the pre-ACT and ACT are state-required assessments. And then our North Carolina check-ins are formative assessments produced by North Carolina's Department of Public Instruction for biology, English 2, Math 1, Math 3, and science for our grade 8 students. Again, the testing department has provided copies of the local assessment schedule as well as our grader 2022-23 testing calendar for you in your packets. The local assessments have been highlighted for you. As a reminder, the general statute does require the local Board of Education to review the testing every even-numbered year. And by October 1st, the local Board of Education must have reviewed the last 2 years of data sent by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. And if we are over the state average, we must have a plan developed to lower the amount of local tests administered and or the amount of time our students are testing. So we have here a chart of our 2-year average, and I'm excited to report that over the 2-year period, Gaston County Schools has decreased the number of local tests by 14 assessments that we have given from the year 2021 to 2022. And we've also decreased the time that our students are taking local assessments by 14.7 minutes. When we first presented our local testing information 2 years ago to you, we were required to submit a plan to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction that detailed how our district would be working to reduce the number of tests as well as the number of minutes that our students are spending when taking a test. However, even though we are slightly above the state average in minutes tested and number of local assessments given, Gaston County Schools continues to demonstrate significant progress toward reducing the number of local tests administered and the amount of time taking our local test as defined by the State Board of Education. Because of our hard work and efforts, the requirement to submit a plan for the 22-23 school year has been waived for Gaston County Schools. Thank you, Chairman. That's all I have on that agenda item.
Okay, this is an information item. Anybody have any comments or questions for Ms. Powers?
Good news.
Yeah, it is good
I'm
news.
very excited.
Next on the agenda is Ms. Powers, North Carolina Accountability Model Results. Ms. Powers.
So next, I will be sharing our North Carolina Accountability Model preliminary results. In 2017-18, the new accountability model was voted into law. With that came some changes. And so before proceeding, I want to review with you the North Carolina Accountability Model for just a minute, because it's been a few years that we have shared the entire model with you. The North Carolina Accountability Model includes school performance grades for each of our schools and long-term goals. School performance grades are still an A through F grading model for our schools, and they are based on achievement and growth measures. Over the past 3 years, we have experienced some modifications in our accountability model due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The last time I stood before you as a board and shared our North Carolina Accountability Model results in its entirety was in August or September of 2019. And that was covering 2018-19 when we last administered all of our assessments to our students and our accountability results were reported. In 2019-2020, we began the fall semester. However, in March of 2020, all of our schools were closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And therefore, with that closing, all of our assessments were halted from being administered. Therefore, all accountability model results were waived and no assessments were given. For the 2021 school year, the Senate Bill 654 was signed into law and stated that the State Board of Education shall not calculate achievement, growth, and performance scores, nor display those performance scores, growth designations, or letter grades for the school year, for the 2022 school year, based on data from 2021 school year. So you can see here our tests were administered, but again, due to Senate Bill 654, all accountability model results were waived. We were given the authority to display a brief explanation that the achievement, growth, and performance scores and letter grades were not calculated so that our community and stakeholders would understand. And then this past school year is our first year where our students returned back face-to-face 5 days a week. And we did administer all of our assessments, and all accountability model results are reported and they're back on. So let's take a look at our preliminary results. First, we will begin with our growth. Academic growth indicates whether students achieve a year's worth of progress for a year's worth of instruction. Growth is reported in one of three ways: exceeded growth, met growth, or did not meet growth. For the 21-22 school year, Gaston County Schools had 71% of our schools to meet or exceed overall academic growth expectations, and 13 of our schools exceeded growth. In reading, 95% of our schools met or exceeded academic growth expectations for the year, and in math, 23 elementary and middle schools met or exceeded academic growth expectations for the school year. Student proficiency for the 21-22 school year was calculated and reported for the first time since 2018-19. And we can use those both for instructional planning and our accountability model results. State tests were administered to our students in the following subject areas: reading and math for grades 3 through 8, science for grades 5 and 8, math 1, math 3, biology, and English 2 for our high schools. Furthermore, the graduation rate and other school performance indicators continue to be calculated and reported as well. So tonight, I would like to share our results with you. But before we review these following charts, it is important to note that the performance over the past 3 years for our students cannot necessarily be used for comparison purposes because of several factors. Remembering that we had a shutdown in March of 2020, and including a difference in our schedules in 2020-2021, which included different modes of instruction that could be in-person, remote, or completely virtual. And so because of these factors, it is not possible for me to give you a true apples-to-apples comparison of the proficiency rates for 18-19, 2021, and 21-22. So moving forward, we will talk about the difference in 2021 to 21-22. So beginning students in Gaston County did improve their performance on end of grade and end of course assessments. At the end of 2021 school year, our proficiency rate was 44.1%. Gaston County's overall proficiency rate for 21-22 is 48.4%, which is 4.3 points higher than last year. Next is our reading performance for our elementary and middle schools. The percentage of our students scoring at or above grade level in math, reading, and science increased across all of our tested areas. Our most significant gains in reading were our fourth graders, who experienced a 6.5% higher performance, our seventh graders, which is 5.7% higher, and our fifth graders, which is 5.1% higher than the 2021 school year. Next is our math. We have our math results for grades 3 through 8. As you can see here, our most significant gains in math were third grade, which was 9.8% higher, fourth grade, 6.8% higher, and fifth grade, 5.5% higher. And last, for our elementary and middle, I have here for you our science. The science end of grade is administered to only our 5th and 8th grade students each year. We saw an increase in both of our grade levels in comparison to the 2021 school year, but our most significant gain was our 5th graders with 7.9% higher performance than the previous year. For our high schools, our EOC subject areas of biology, English 2, Math 1, and Math 3, when we do look at 2021 and compare that, we had increases in biology, Math 1, and Math 3. Our Math 1 had the most significant increase with 8 points of percent higher than the previous year. For our graduation rate, 10 years ago, our graduation rate was 70%. If you fast forward to 16-17, we had a peak, our highest peak of 88.3. However, there have been changes in how the state calculates our cohort graduation rate, and that occurred during the 2018-19 school year. That did result in a lower rate for many schools and districts throughout our state. The changes affect how some students can be excluded from our calculations. Previously, students who were not part of the school's initial cohort were excluded from calculations upon enrollment in the school if they were not on track for graduating within 4 years. As a result of this change, we did see an increase in our graduation rate to 84.8 in 2018-19. In 2019-20, in response to the pandemic, the state reduced the amount of credits a student needs to graduate from 28 to 22. So therefore, we saw an increase in our graduation rate, which was 88%. In 2021, the state returned back to their pre-pandemic calculations, and students needed to earn a total of 28 credits in order to graduate. Our graduation rate for 2021 was 86.5, and for this year, it's 85.2. And despite the decrease in our rate, we did have 5 schools who had a rate higher than 90%. Ashbrook, Gaston Early College, Forest View, Highland, and South Point. And Forest View had our most significant increase in their graduation rate with a 3.7% increase in comparison to the previous year. Historically, ACT and Work Keys performance have been 2 separate indicators. But beginning in 17-18, the data from this assessment is combined into one indicator to measure the percentage of our high school seniors that are meeting those college and career readiness benchmark measures. This indicator uses a combination of ACT results from their 11th grade year and Work Keys results from their senior year. In 21-22, we have 52.4% of our seniors meet the college or career readiness benchmark measure using ACT or their ACT Work Keys results. This is a decrease from 2021. However, it's important to note that the measures for the ACT changed during the pandemic. Prior to 2020, the benchmark measure score a senior had to make in order to meet the college and career readiness measure was a 17. In the spring of 2020, the measure changed and increased by 2 points to 19. And this was placed into our accountability model after this cohort of seniors had already taken their ACT. The 19 score being used as a benchmark measure will be the new measure moving forward. Our next indicator is math course rigor. Math course rigor measures the percentage of our seniors who are graduating with credit for the NC Math 3 course. Although this is another area where we have experienced a change in the rules for calculation during the 18-19 school year, 100% of our high schools had 90% or more of their seniors graduating with the credit for NC Math 3. And 6 of our schools had 95% of their students graduate with this credit. And that's Bessemer City High School, Gaston Early College, Stuart Cramer, Forest View, Highland, and South Point. At all grade spans, there is an indicator that is still fairly new to us, and that is our English Learners Progress Measure. Students identified as English learners are students whose families have indicated to us that they speak a language other than English on the home language survey when they come to our district to enroll, and they have qualified for those services via the WAPT or WIDA language screener. The WIDA screener is the test used in North Carolina for initial identification and placement of our students into the English Language Learners Program. Public school units must identify these students in need of assistance services within 30 calendar days of enrollment. This indicator is used to measure the progress of our English learners and as they're making and attaining that English language and exiting the services. In 17-18, only 8 of our schools were identified in having this indicator as part of their model. In 18-19, we increased to 12 of our schools. And in 2021, we had 21 out of 55 qualified schools who had this indicator, and we continue to have 21 in the 21-22 school year. Last, I would like to share our school performance grades for the 21-22 school year. This year is the first year that school performance grades have been calculated since 2018-19. The state uses the testing and accountability data to give school performance grades, which were assigned for the first time in 2014. A school's performance letter grade is determined using a formula based only on 2 factors: student achievement, which is our test scores, our proficiency, and that counts 80% towards the overall grade. And then our student academic growth, which counts 20%. Many districts across the state have seen increases in the numbers of low-performing schools, which include schools with a D or F rating and who either met or did not meet growth. And as you can see here, this is a chart that represents our state as a whole. And so you can see the changes from 2018-19 across our state, where the schools that received an A, B, or C performance grade has decreased, while the schools performing at a D rating have doubled, and our schools across the state who have a performance grade of an F has almost tripled since 2018-19. For the 21-22 school year, Gaston County had half of its schools to earn an A, B, or C grade. 3 of our schools received an A grade. That's an increase. 9 schools received a B grade, and 13 schools received a C grade. When compared to 18-19, Gaston County, like most of our districts across the state, had more schools in 21-22 to receive a lower grade. However, it is important for me to share with you that 12 of our schools were within 3 or fewer points of achieving that next grade level. The test scores here are released by the state and are preliminary results. The results will be verified over the next month, and official results will be shared as a part of our district and school report cards, which will be issued later this fall. Thank you, Chairman Ramsey. That is all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. This is just information. Anybody has a comment or questions?
Ma'am, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I want to say to the directors, you've been doing a wonderful job. You've kept our students on task, I think, because I'm looking at, you said 3 A's, 9 B's, and 13 C's. Someone had to be working, and you had to do this, returning back to what we would call the norm. And to show that here in Gaston, I commend you for that. But I'm not surprised, because when you're sharing information with us, you're always on top of things, but that's good. And let me ask you this. I heard that schools were actually, the math scores were low, but you talked about our scores here. And based on what you said, am I to assume that our children did okay in math as well? I think we ought to give them a big hand. I think that's just wonderful. In spite of the many obstacles, the learning barriers, online, in person, A, B, B, C, or whatever, you have done well. And that tells us that we must continue to focus. And again, I congratulate the directors, Dr. Booker, Dr. Balknight. Job well done. We look for greater things.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. Next on the agenda is a Business Advisory Council meeting update. This is the information item. Mr. Buchanan.
Good afternoon, members of the Gaston County Board of Education, Chairman Ramsey, Vice Chair Cherry, Dr. Booker. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to give you a quick update on our most recent Business Advisory Council meeting. It took place this past September the 7th here in the Board of Education room. It was in person and virtual. Overall, we had 20 participants attend. This is the agenda as approved. I'm going to go over number 3, 4, and 5 with you. The first, we did a quick celebration of some things that took place in the previous year that they did not know that you have heard before. The first being we did have our seniors graduate to the tune of over 2,000 total seniors. And to add on to some of the accolades with our proficiency or performance, we did not show any growth. We were just number 1 in the state 2 years in a row. So we will stick with that, and that's when we're presenting this to our Business Advisory Council members, they are looking for the same credentials that our students are earning. So that's 2 years in a row we were number 1 in the state for doing that, and wanted to make sure that they heard that and processed that. Something else new we added was an end-of-year virtual career fair. I presented this to you at our local planning system grant, but it had not been executed yet. It did exceed our expectations. We had over 30 businesses participate, and that was asynchronous, and that allowed us to present 30 businesses to our students 2 weeks consecutively. It did not interrupt with their exam reviews, and they could visit and access this 24/7, and it did not detract from time from our businesses. Overall, we had 2,500 students participate, and if you think about the earlier number I said, over 2,000 seniors, even though this was geared towards our seniors, we had underclassmen participate as well. They may not be graduating and going into a career, but they could hear a year early and then process that into the next year whenever they do graduate. Overall, 700 students did indicate after watching some video content from our businesses that was embedded into a survey, they were given the opportunity to put their contact information and say, I would like to be contacted by a business about a career opportunity upon graduation. And this is how simple it was. We just embedded it into a Google Sheet. We had the business logos. Underneath that would have the title of the business, and they could click on that hyperlink, as many as they would like to see, and then participate, ask to be contacted. We filtered out those yeses and then sent that to our businesses at the end of the event before graduation took place. Finally, something else that's been on a pause for 2 years due to COVID is our career signing day. So in order for that to take place, we have to have internships, paid internships that were also on pause for 2 years. So our spring internships did take place. We had students take advantage of that, and at the end of each of those experiences, our businesses have the opportunity to offer full-time employment upon graduation. We had 6 students take advantage of that from 3 of our high schools representing 3 different businesses. The first here is Stuart Cramer High School with GSM Services. We had 2 students take advantage from turning their internship into a full-time career upon graduation. We invited their parents, principal, and business representatives, which GSM has always been a strong partner. I think in every year we've had the career signing day, they've probably had students here that have taken advantage of that. And that also leads into Dixon Quick Coupling, again, a strong partner, usually a repeat customer when it comes to the career signing day. We had a student from North Gaston High School, invited him, his parents, business representatives from Dixon attended, along with the career development coordinator and the principal. And then finally, a new business on board that took advantage of our internship program and career signing day was Jaffe Enterprises. So we had 3 students from Forest View participate in an internship and then turn that into a career opportunity upon graduation. Invited the business reps, the parents, students, and then the career development coordinator. So overall, it's one of those things when you step back and you say all the effort put in for our students from K through 12 and then see them take advantage of a paid experience and turn that into a career. This is what it's all about, at least for us in career and technical education. And then moving on to something else additional new, we did this summer a middle school career accelerator summer camp. That was a PRC 177 grant. So this was in tandem with the other middle school camp going on. 500 students overall taking place. We recycled our digital content again from our businesses. And those 500 students, each pretty much, if you do the math here, viewed and learned about 14 different businesses. So 7,000 videos reviewed, surveys were completed by our middle school students in grades 6 through 8. It was not just a virtual or asynchronous event. We also had our middle school career development coordinators did a great job organizing during the 3 weeks some experiences that align with each week. So the first one was a medical detectives experience, and that's what you'll see here. I'll detail the exacts here in a second. We also had robotics for a week, and then design and construction. For here to the left, you'll see students, they are doing a DNA model made out of Twizzlers and marshmallows. And then to the right, they were doing blood in a bottle. I had to write that one down. They used corn syrup for plasma, red hot candy for red blood cells, lima beans for white blood cells, and then white sprinkles for platelets to show the components of the blood. So not only did they do a great job with hands-on experiences, but they tried to make a lot of them as edible as possible. But we did receive lots of compliments from our teachers, I guess you would say camp counselors, for that June experience and just how much their students enjoyed having hands-on activities after 2 years of computer-based work, et cetera. So good to hear that they were appreciative and the students enjoyed what we presented for them. And then finally, new business. We have been working with the Gaston Chamber on a talent pipeline management process. I don't know if you're aware, but North Carolina was recently recognized as the #1 state in the nation for business. After doing a little bit of research, they have been compiling this top 10 list since 2007, and North Carolina has been in the top 10 almost every single year. There are 88 metrics they look at for a state to become #1. We were #2 last year and then #1 this year. So that will kind of lead into why this talent pipeline management program is so important. The North Carolina Chamber would like to stay #1 for businesses. And in order to do so, you've heard the vacancies, they're everywhere, whether it's education or business. We're always looking to invest in a talent pipeline program. We were recently notified that per the leadership of the Gaston Business Association, we were at the forefront of this in the state. They actually sent some representatives, the chamber did, to come out and film some video content of the participants in that. Gaston County Schools, Gaston College, some of our businesses, and use this as a promo video for this workforce education and workforce conference that was led by Superintendent Truitt and Representative Torbett. So they're really wanting to invest into education and extended education, into establishing a talent pipeline that is always continuous and then filling vacancies. With that being said, that's all we covered. Our next meeting is planning to be here on February the 22nd. I would be more than happy to answer any questions if there are any about our advisory council meeting.
Okay. Anybody, questions or comments?
May I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Guth.
You mentioned the grades 6 through 8 participating in the accelerated summer camp. Did you have students from one particular school, or more students rather, from one special middle school, or how did you recruit those students?
It was the same time as our other middle school camp, so it was offered at 5 total middle schools. So they would go through a core side rotation, if you will, and then the same day they would be going through the one for the Career Accelerator Summer Camp. So it was in tandem at the same time.
Great.
Yep.
Great. Do you have some type of follow-up during the school year with those students, or was this just an enrichment program for the summer?
Yeah.
It's an enrichment program for the summer, but they did already put this out in anticipation for next year. We did apply, and we have been granted that for this coming summer.
Great, great.
Mr. Collier?
Mr. Buchanan, I always look forward to you coming because it's always good news.
That's right. Glad I didn't let you down today.
And it's just phenomenal how this program continues to evolve and get better. I just, every year, can't figure out how we can surpass what we've done, but moving into the middle schools and the ground you're breaking there, and I see all kinds of opportunities of where you're going, and now the state's on board with the chamber, so it's just exciting, and kudos to you and your whole department for everything you're doing for Gaston County Schools.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Please take a look at those items below, and I need a motion. Mr. Hall, make a motion approval of the consent agenda. Second by Mr. Dedman. Any questions? All in favor? That's unanimous. Next item on the agenda is Superintendent Comments. Dr. Booker.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Hoskins for his presentation and all the work and the questions that you all asked, and know that we are going to be working tomorrow with our principals to update them on similar information and then talk about the phases of how we're going to gather information and ask for their ongoing support with that. As a number of you have mentioned, and just like Mr. Buchanan's report, you just saw, we've had a good year, a good start to the school year, and so all this other distraction is disheartening because our folks have done great things. And when you go out and visit the schools, like I was in there in 2 different days last week, great things are happening in our classroom, and I really appreciate the work of everyone in the schools. You go into the cafeteria, it's got positive energy, and bus drivers and their excitement of having students. It's all good. So we appreciate the total body of Gaston County Schools and what it's doing for our community. I had some other things, but I'm going to save those because we do have a rather lengthy closed session because we do need to do some personnel as well as consult with our attorney on some other matters. So I'll ask for that, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one quick comment about something?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hoskins had mentioned that we're going to have the group that's going to be our
Call center.
That's it. Our call center. Right now, we're going to hire some people, or we're going to use your people all the time.
Mr. Damon, at the moment, we're going to work with Mr. Hoskins and use our folks to work through the process with him quickly so that they can get the information they
I don't
need.
want us to hurt our academics somewhere by taking your people out of somewhere else that, I mean, the way I read Dr. Booker, what you said was that we were going to hire somebody, a group of people to do this. Are we going to hire somebody while we have the money to do it?
Well, initially, we're using our people because we want to get the data together. We still are exploring multiple options, as you saw one today that we're doing. We have another discussion with another vendor to come in and supplement to help facilitate.
Okay. Are you finished, Dr. Booker? Okay, thank you. Next item is closed session. Mr. Collier.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to go in executive session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraph A6 for personnel, and under the same statute, paragraph A3 for consultation with attorney.
All right. And have a second. Ms. Cherry, all in favor? We're in closed session. We're back in open sessions. Dr. Booker?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I would like to recommend Lakeisha Wilkins for a 2-year contract as an assistant principal with Gaston County Schools.
I make a motion that we accept that recommendation, Dr.
We got
Booker.
a motion on the floor, second by Mr. Moore. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the engineering consultant services agreement between Gaston County Board of Education and H2L Consulting Engineers for the Phase 1 retaining wall repairs at Stuart Cramer High School, subject to changes to be approved by the superintendent and the board chairman upon recommendation of legal counsel.
All right.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cherry. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's unanimous. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. Did y'all get that document? We did, thank you. All right. If there's no other business, I'm going to ask Mr. Hall in replacing Mr. Dedman to do the adjournment. Second. All in favor? We're adjourned.